Hi, my name's Alison. I'm Courtney's mum. Courtney has asked me to prepare a video and talk about her CRPS journey. I had a front row seat. Um, Here I am to talk about it all. Firstly, though, I have to say I'm so proud of Courtney. For her to want to bring awareness to such a debilitating condition and join the Miss Fit Bikini Model pageant to do so is so far out of her comfort zone. It's just amazing that she's going ahead and doing this. So always wanting to do good and to do what's right, and with great strength and determination she does. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing my girl strut her stuff on the pageant runway I think it's 10 or 11 days' time as I join her on the Gold Coast. It will be yet another wonderful experience that she has undertaken to offset the horrendousness of her life with CRPS. So I have to say that Courtney is my inspiration. I don't know how she did what she did to get where she is. It has taken such strength and determination, and even when there didn't look like there was any hope, it was her determination that kept her going. And here we are now. Courtney's 26 years old. I know if you follow her on social media, you will have seen the wonderful, wonderful life achievements and the wonderful life she's living, grasping every opportunity, stepping out of comfort zones, making up time. And I hope that her telling her story and her offering information and education on CRPS will educate those that don't have it and provide hope to those that do. Courtney was so young when she broke her toe, and and it set her on the path of CRPS, set her on the path of altered educational opportunity, horrendous pain. I know she shared the pain scale. I can't imagine it. I saw it, and I can't imagine it. I saw her foot curl up. I saw it go from under her. I saw that she couldn't shower for the pain. I saw the exhaustion. I saw the fear. I just, there's so much. So I will gather myself. I will gather my thoughts. When Courtney was diagnosed with CRPS, she was at school, and it was a really difficult time before it even really flared to the point of disability. The foot at the time pre her actual CRPS diagnosis was classed as having had some nerve pain, which is pain that really shouldn't be there because structurally the foot was fine. So we worked with the school. She wore a boot. We tried to get her desensitizing. That's a big part of the CRPS journey. Desensitize, and that means touching the foot and using the foot or the part of your body that's affected by CRPS in a way that doesn't make it feel like there's anything wrong with it, but in a way you don't hurt it. So it's a real balancing act. So that would mean some days she couldn't go to school. That would mean some days she would have to wear a boot, which she sort of lived in for a long time, to go to school. Comfy shoes. Sometimes she became desensitized to socks. So when she wanted to have a swim or was doing her hydrotherapy, she was desensitized to the sock. So when she didn't, when her foot wasn't tolerating water in the pool or at various times, she would wear a sock because, her body was okay with a sock. It's such a weird, unpredictable condition. So she was a bit of an oddbod at this time at school. So the kids were wondering why wasn't she at school every day? Why could she walk some days and why would she hobble others? So she was sort of seen as a bit of a faker. So that created some initial isolation and attention that no teenager wants. Then it started coming down through the teaching staff, and that was catastrophic, absolutely catastrophic. The anxiety and the fear that the doubt and the bullying that came down through some teachers has affected Courtney long term. Other teachers were wonderful. The support and the care and the respect that they afforded her was just great. But like with everything, whether it be some of the experiences we've had with the medical profession, some of the experiences we've had with acquaintances, friends, they don't always get it. And particularly, you can imagine teenage peers. If adults don't get it, how can kids? So, yeah, it was socially, it was isolating, it was depressing, it was devastating. And that's alongside the pain. The pain was crucifying. So, we took Courtney out of school and we put her through a 3-year pathway through TAFE. But as her condition worsened and she ended up having the most horrific surgery, scooping plantar warts out of the ball of her left foot, which left her totally disabled and totally dependent on my care for toileting, washing, feeding, everything, which again is not what, a teenager wants to spread their wings and fly. They don't want to be limited to a 4 by 3 meter room in a bed with your mother looking after you, and in pain that cannot be medicated for, that is indescribable and off the pain scale. My son and I had to carry her to the car and try and get her out of the most horrendous space to get her to and from hospital. I caught her as she fainted in showers before she could settle herself on the shower chair. After many surgeries, many surgeries and hospital visits, she would always faint from low blood pressure. I don't know how many times I caught her. She was terrified of nursing staff because some of them just didn't understand. Even if they were wonderful nurses, the bad experiences had tainted her. So her inability to trust was huge. And that's sad. That's so sad. So she did her HSC through, I think, 5 educational institutions over a 3-year period. And I think she ended up taking on or starting about 3 extra subjects because each time we had to transfer her, the particular institution may not offer the subject. So it was amazing that she even did her HSC. And I talk about education in particular just at the moment because she has graduated from University of South Australia in Adelaide, her Bachelor of Marketing and Communications, which I don't know, like we didn't think she'd finish year 10. We didn't think she'd do a HSC. We didn't know what Courtney's future would hold. And at the age of 26 now, she has graduated university. She's in a job, a graduate role, doing something that's really next level through PR, and she's signed up for her master's. Can I say the word proud again? Can I say she's my inspiration? Because I don't know how a 16-year-old child can sit in bed in horrendous pain and meet deadlines without any parental supervision. I just wanted to keep her alive. I just wanted to stop her hurting. I supported her educational pursuits, but I didn't enforce anything. I didn't need to. It was, as she says now, all she had. Well, she did it. Through everything, she did it. Um, there were some really key times where, as a parent, I just thought, what on earth? What do I do? I said to Courtney one night, honey, if I could take the pain, I'd take it. If I could, if I wish it was me. And she just looked at me with so much maturity and said, well, you can't. We just have to do it. And she did. Um, some of the surgeries she's had have been brutal, but so worth it. Um, she is inspirational. I remember we she'd been referred to a pain clinic course, like a program where you learn to deal with pain that can't be taken away. So I guess you're taught to sort of manage it, whether it be, I don't know, mindfulness, pushing through, whatever. Anyway, it didn't work for Courtney. She was in an adult course. They were calling her princess. They were saying she didn't know anything about pain. What could a kid of her age understand? Because obviously these people have suffered chronic severe pain and this was their last hope. Um, Sadly, the medications, oh, it was horrendous. They were talking all sorts of things. It was a safe area, so I won't repeat it. But some of the things Courtney came home with were quite traumatic. She should not have been put through that course. So we withdrew her from that. Um, and so she'd lost all faith in doctors and refused to go back. And she said, I'll just put up with it. So the flare had settled a little bit, but then had come back and we went back to see her orthopedic and he'd said, so much has changed, Court, please go and see the pain specialist again. And that's when we found our A team. And just prior to going to see the doctor, Courtney had spent 2 nights on the internet looking up different options. One was amputation. I know she's spoken about that, and I know I didn't realise that it was such a consideration for Courtney. I didn't know that was so prominent in her mind that she believed she would have her leg amputated just to get on with her life. I knew things were bad, but it's only recently, I guess, I've really realised how much she considered that prior to speaking to doctors. A lot of the research she read was US based because um, they were on the forefront and we weren't in Australia. But she went to this pain specialist and she had all her information. And she said, here's the reports, here's everything. Can I have one of those, please, that stimulator? And there was an example on his desk, a prototype. And he said, yeah, you can. Anyway, we walked out shocked, like we didn't realise. So she had investigated, researched, and understood what she wanted and what she needed. But just before we walked into the doctors, she looked at me, and of course the American medical system is very different to the Australian one. Every medical system has its issues, but in Australia, I thank my lucky stars, our lucky stars, that we were here despite some issues and encountering some of the wrong people. But we were so fortunate that she said to me, Mum, what about the cost? And I said, what do you mean, what about the cost? Some of the research she'd done had said in the US, these surgeries cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And as a 16-year-old, no, sorry, I think she was nearly 18 at that point. She was nearly 18. To be faced with a financial complication on top of everything else, like it's huge, isn't it? Anyway, I assured her I'd beg, borrow, steal. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter how much it cost. We would pass the hat around. We would do anything. I don't know, what is it, GoFundMe, whatever. We would beg, borrow, or steal. Anyway, we went to the doctor and it was determined that Courtney would have this trial So they have to do a trial first. And I think on Courtney's pages, you've seen where she had all that white cord and that pack outside her body. So those electrodes went into her spine, and then they just strapped the outside stuff, the operational stuff outside her body to see if it would work before they went through the more invasive procedure of installing the device subcutaneously. So we sent her off to that operation. And I remember standing there with my husband. I've jumped ahead. There was a lot. There was a lot of hydrotherapy, physiotherapy, needling, laser acupuncture. Oh, we tried so much. We just kept saying, "Court, try again, try again." Like, she was exhausted. She didn't want any more medical intervention, but she found out about this device, and here we are. So the pain at this point, it was crippling. It was like she couldn't walk. It was wheelchairs, crutches, boot. There's a photo of her. I'll never forget. We had bought tickets to Katy Perry. Was it Katy Perry? Yeah, it was Katy Perry. And we had mosh pit tickets. Well, of course, we couldn't use the mosh pit because she couldn't walk. And so I rang the venue and I said, "Look, we want to go and see Katy Perry. We've got tickets, but my daughter she's disabled. We've got her in a wheelchair." Anyway, they have seats. But, oh my God, getting that wheelchair around, and she'd never wanted attention drawn to her. But, of course, a kid in a wheelchair with a mum who was a bit stressed and had no idea how to push or use a wheelchair. It was horrible. Anyway, we got into the concert, and there's a photo. On Court's social media where she's sitting in the wheelchair with a Superman singlet on. Sorry. And I look into that photo of her with her Superman singlet on, and I just see the pain, and I see the fear, and I see the devastation that she felt that night. It was a good concert. I'm glad we went. She's glad we went, but getting there was horrible. Anyway, so there was that. And then I remember going back to the away from the concert now, going back to the fitting that big white device to her that was the dorsal root ganglion stimulator. I was there with my husband after all of this and seeing her disability grow. And I remember thinking, I didn't, at all the operations, we just got there, we just did it for each appointment. Come on, Court, like, you've got to be strong. But when they took Courtney away that day, this trial device fitted, it broke me. Because I thought, if this doesn't work, what has she got? Well, she got a miracle. The crazy thing happened was she came out of surgery and they said, "She's awake, you can come into recovery." So obviously they'd fitted the stimulator to her spine, and she came out, and her dad and I just went straight to the end of the bed, and we ripped the covers up, and the nurses are like, "Are you okay? What are you looking for? Have you lost something?" I said, her feet. And we looked at her feet, and her left foot was straight for the first time in years. It had colour, and she couldn't feel any pain. That was the beginning of the rest of her life. And for that, I will forever be grateful. And from that time on, Courtney just embraced the world with both hands, every opportunity. So we got home and she rested, and she said, "Well, they can take it out now because, like, we know it works. I don't need it in for the whole 2 weeks." So she rang the doctor, and as she did, managed her own care and said, "You can take it out now. It works." So they took it out. She had her 18th birthday party, which was wonderful. And she said to me, Mum, I want to go back to school. She said, I want to transfer back to a school because I deserve a graduation. I've worked so hard. I've missed out on so much. I want a formal. I want a graduation. I want friends. So a week later, she was enrolled into school. Oh my gosh, as a parent, I think certain times when your kids need you, you can move mountains. I shifted a few. So we got it done. But then came the migraines, the neck torticollis, and a few other things. She got through her HSC studies. Sorry, I'm just lots of tears. She got through her HSC studies, or studying for them. It came time for exams. I think I called the school more from emergency than any other parent in the last 10 years would have called from emergency. The forms we filled in for her misadventure, shall we say, were, I think, 2 inches thick. Anyway, we did all that, but she had migraines. She had a hemiplegic migraine, which resembled a stroke. So we rushed her to emergency. She had all the symptoms of a stroke without having a stroke. It was caused from the migraine. That was pretty scary. Anyway, so she, I think, got out of hospital and did a HSC exam, one of her exams the next day. Then she had a cervicogenic migraine, which is a migraine that comes from the neck. Her whole body was put out of place by wearing the boot and having an altered gait for so long. Anyway, she did her HSC. She was adored by her teachers. Like, the respect and the honour that she got at that school was amazing. She got her formal. She graduated. I know there's some photos of that. Then knocked me down with a feather. She moved out of home and went to uni. So that was amazing. She's worked so hard, like job after job, but unfortunately her her jobs are very, she would sometimes not be able to work for months at a time because of her pain and different effects on her body, and certainly her migraines. The CRPS, whilst it has flared up in her foot a little, but not to the extent that it had prior to the device being fitted. Migraines were terrible, so she ended up having rods inserted into the occipital nerve, sort of at the base of your skull there. They didn't have to go through to bone, but they had to go up to where your nerves are in the back of your head, and they use quite thick electrodes, and they sent heat and radio frequency down those and fried her nerves or warmed them up. And the hope was that eventually the nerves would behave themselves and she wouldn't have these horrendous migraines that brought with them, migraines, vomiting and pain for days. And anyway, so she had that operation every 12 months. And she bumped her foot and got a ganglion cyst on her left foot. We couldn't believe it. It was, anyway. So there was another operation, and each time I'd have to drive her back home to where she lived. She lived in Bathurst, and set her up at home, and she'd get going again and resume life as she could. Whenever she had to leave a job because of her condition, she was devastated because her independence was affected. But look where she is now. Her own business, a full-time job in an amazing company, in a big role. She sits on the Chamber of Commerce, the local Chamber of Commerce. I think tomorrow night we're going to an awards night for her business. And we've got the pageant coming up where she's telling people about CRPS. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and certainly my very emotional chat isn't quite what I'd envisaged, but she is my inspiration. She's travelled the world. She even had to go through airport security with the device in. And when she said it was a pacemaker because it wasn't located at her heart, she was pulled aside into, like customs in a country with they didn't speak English, and she got through it. I didn't get a call. We didn't, she did it. So yeah. So if there's someone with a silent illness, whether it be mental health, whether it be CRPS, whether it be fibromyalgia, gosh, there's so much more. I'm just rattling a few things off. You don't have to understand it and you don't have to see it. Just know that they feel it, and all you have to do is hold space. If someone cancels and cancels and cancels spending time with you, wonder why. Don't be cross that they did. The smallest kindness can bring the most joy. So yeah, thank you for listening. Sorry I'm such a blubbering mess. It was a lot. And here we are. So please take hope from Courtney's story. Just give yourself time and space and grow and learn, and always search, always speak up for yourself. You must be your own healthcare advocate. There shouldn't be any injustices in health, but there are. And if you find your A team like we found ours, and you hold hope, I pray that you get the outcome that you need to. Take care, and thank you. And here's wishing Courtney good luck as she enjoys the Miss Fit Bikini Model pageant in about 2 weeks' time, and tells her story on a stage which she's terrified of. So thanks very much. Take care. Bye-bye.